Al's World of Whiskey, and this has been a bit of a challenge trying to get this done. I've already done that video. This one, second time round, problems with software. Then again, we didn't know if it was the camera, whether it was the possibly the disc, was it possibly the software. But we're going to give it another shot, and let's go at her. And what are we doing? The 18. As I promised, we're going to get this 18 done. I don't care if it takes 2, 3 efforts to do it. I'm doing it. So I should be polished at this by now, but sometimes things kind of go downhill after a while. The Talisker 18, kind of an old friend. It does go back to the days when I was just starting to get into the smoked single malts and that, Lagavulin and Talisker, the Ardbeg, Lafroig. Those were the kind of the key ones that I really remember, and I actually got started with my son. So my son bought me a couple bottles of this back when we could afford it. I bought a couple bottles since. I did this for a few years, and in fact, this wasn't even opened. When I got it opened, I did a bit of spillage. Wondering what's this doing here? This piece on the top here. Well, we had a little bit of spillage, and we were worried about the top deteriorating, so we just put a quick string of taper on. I'm not as fanatic about the box as I am about the bottle. No big deal. It's holding the box good and solid. We will focus more on the bottle and what's in it. So again, my son, and you can see the packaging here. Interesting. Maybe I'll bring this up a bit here just so you can see the difference in the packaging. So the 10, which we had just done, and of course the 18. So we see newer packaging today. So and this is the older packaging, and this is the newer packaging. So there we are. And hopefully I'm getting my focus right. What I will say is bottle, it was full, but I'll give you a little bit of a look at the bottle there. So there you are. That is the Talisker bottle, and hopefully the camera can get in view there. And we'll just kind of give you a bit of the color there. It's not a super dark color. Now I'm hearing that there is a non-chill filtering in this, but I'm also hearing that there's chill filtering in the newer versions. So doing a lot of research here. Mind you, that was a comment, a review, and that was on taste. It certainly wasn't from the source or from the manufacturer, from the producer, Diageo. So, and that is Diageo Moet Hennessy, are the giants that can control and hold this distillery. Cloniche, Johnny Walker, Mortlach. I gave a whole list, Elwini. There is a pile of different distilleries that they have under their portfolio. Too many to list. But anyways, let's get into this Talisker here, and we will give it a pour. Ooh, hear the sound of that. And yes, this is an old friend. My son bought me a couple bottles of this many years ago, so I kind of identify with Talisker. Robert Louis Stevenson, one of his favorite drinks, he called it the King o' Drinks. And Morrow, another one of his favorites. There's a lot of celebrities in history and also more recent that kind of approve of the Talisker product. So As far as reviews and all that, all over the place on the new stuff. The 10's had very good reviews. And the 18 up until recently has had very good reviews. So, but we're gonna give this the best we can. It is the second time round, so let's go for the nose. So the nose is lighter than the 10. I find it's not as heavy in the smoke. Smoke's more in the background. There's a lot of sweet stuff going on here. I'm getting everything from dates. I'm getting the dark fruit mixed in with even alfalfa honey maybe. I always like to get a little bit of that honey in, but it's not something that I would notice as much on the 10. Sweet and sour notes. Nice, very nice nose in this, by the way. It's not overpowering, but it's that the smoke is just very slight in the background. It's not the heavy rubber boot smell that I mentioned in the 10 there, like when we used to store our Illy Hansen rubber boots on the fish boat. I was a commercial fisherman, and we'd store them in the engine room, and you'd get that smell. But it's it is something between an Isla and the lighter Orkney. They're light peat, you know, they're more of the heathery peat. As to the Isla, there's a lot of shrubbery in their peat, so that's a darker peat, where the Orkney peat is definitely a lot lighter. And it's somewhere in between. But this is a 20, 22, 24 ppm, somewhere in that range. Actually, I think I would say that the initial making of pretty much all of your Talisker whiskies is between 20 and 25 ppm. So not as heavy as the Lagavulin, certainly not as heavy as Lafroig and Ardbeg, or you know, something like this here, this Octomore over here. But you know, this is a little bit heavier in the ppm than Lagavulin. I would say this is closer to, let's say, Bowmore, maybe Kalila, but a lot. You get the heather, you get the floral. Okay. So we're going to go after the palate. Solange. So the palate is definitely not as intense as the 10 was. This guy here. Smoke is more in the background, where the smoke was more up front. In fact, I think I would say the smoke sort of leads charge on that drink, where this is more smoke in the background, and the fruits are more prevalent. The dark fruits, dates, raisins. I'd say even some honey, maybe some alfalfa honey. I would say that the sour notes were still there, and as far as layers, I am getting some spices. I'm going to say allspice, maybe a bit of pepper. That's black pepper, not white pepper, and a bit of ginger even, and something else, or something in the background there. And I'm going to have to top this off here, and I think I know what it is. So, licorice in the background. So, well layered. The coating on the tongue, a little bit lighter than the 10, but there is a good coating. Kind of a little on the dry side. This is a 45.8, so the same as the 10. But what happens is you look at a young whiskey, and you'll see it'll hold the smoke a lot better. In fact, a lot of master blenders, master distillers, they'll look at an 8, maybe a 10, and a 12 as their best smoke. A good example is you look at the Lagavulin 8. It's a great whiskey for an 8-year-old whiskey. Lacheg 10, not super ppm, but a really nice whiskey. When we get into the, I'm going to use an 18 Orkney as compared to a 12 Highland Park, 18 Highland Park. We seem to have the smoke more in the background. I've got a 23 or 24 Old Perth, and it's got some it's got some McCallum's and some Highland Park. So we know it's not 100% smoked whiskey, but the smoke, you've got to really identify it. So after 23, 24 years, and this is the cast strength, it does lose some of that smoke, and that's what's happening here on the 18. Is we don't have quite that intensity of the peat. The peat is also it's a lighter peat. So I know Orkney peat. It's very light. It's more from the heather. Layers and layers of heather, thousands of years of those layers of heather turning into peat. And of course, you get down to Islay, and we get a lot of shrubbery, a lot of wood, where they get their peat from. So it's a darker and maybe a little bit more tar to the Islay whiskies. But anyways, I'm going to say lots of layers. We've got the fruits, the sweets, the sours, and there is a little bit of that almost like a grapefruity thing going on, mixed in with that alfalfa honey. I'm going to go for the finish, to the finish. Again, it's got a good coating on the mouth. It's not going to be as long a finish as the 10, but it does definitely coat your mouth. There is some body to this. There has been talk that the 18 is now chill filtered. Now, my understanding, this is a few years old. This was not chill filtered. I know Diageo is notorious for their chill filtering, but mostly on their younger whiskies. Now, as far as the coloring in that, I don't know. There's not a lot of coloring in this, but it did not state it on the bottle. So I'm going to say what I can see of the bottle. Here, I have not been able to identify anything here saying non-chill filtered, or actually even no color added. So, but I will give it a swirl and let you take a look at it. So kind of I'd say a short, medium finish. And I'm hoping we can get a little bit better focus on this. So let's just see how well I do here. I am going to add a little bit of water to this, and we'll see what water does to it. Now, it is a 45.8. It is a little lighter than the 10, so I'm not adding a lot of water to this. Very slight. There we are. And let's just see, just a few drops. I just feel that it doesn't need a lot of water. The 18 years, you do taste the wood. That could be the sweetness of the. When I say the alfalfa honey. I think that is the wood. We still got the sweet and sour. Still getting some of those spicy floral notes. And my smoke in the background. Didn't lose the smoke. And it is a slight maritime. We're on the beach. Probably reminds me a bit of some of our beach barbecues there, our fish barbecues on the beach when it was commercial fishing. And it has a beautiful note, actually. Really, I'm getting a little bit more here of the sweet and sours now. Really identify with the alfalfa honey there. So, anyways, the palate. Yeah, allspice, cinnamon. Still have the honey, lots of the honey. Geez, I'm getting a little bit of licorice in the background. And one thing that this does not lack, it does not lack layers. There are a lot of different layers because this is, as I said in my second review, the first one that kind of kiboshed me. I was getting different kind of notes, I was getting more like, I wasn't getting the alfalfa honey as much as I was getting more the, vanilla notes, etc. But then I was getting, some of the malt. But the licorice is really coming out here. And, overall, I'm not going to stretch this one out. A little bit of water makes it interesting. Like I say, when I did the nose there, you're still getting the floral notes in that. Sweetness, it does bring out a little bit more of the sweetness, but just a slight bit of water so you can still get a bit of that smoke in the background there. And the spices are interesting. So this is an 89. This has been one of my favorites. One of the earlier smoked whiskeys I got into, one of the earlier peated whiskeys back in the days of Lagavulin, Ardbeg, Lefroy, maybe to a lesser extent Oban. These were whiskeys that I really identified with, and I've expanded quite a bit from those days on the different types of peated whiskeys I've gotten into. But these are still favorites. And Talister's always stood out. It's always been a really well-balanced whiskey, a unique whiskey. A lot of celebrities out there through history. I mean, Robert Louis Stevenson, the king of drinks. This has been a steady Eddie. So steady Eddie gets an 89. I think that's a fair score. And price. I like to give a score relative to price. And I've been through this in the earlier video analysis, and how I put it is, this might be a 90 if today you could get this for what I paid for this, and this was probably in the 70 to 79 area when I purchased it. It's now up in the $279 area. So in some liquor stores, it might be a little bit more affordable, if you did some shopping around. But I say between, Vancouver, Victoria, and Canada here, that's kind of what we're looking at, if you can get it. I would say that the last I remember it, I think at the Strath down in Victoria, the Strath Liquor Merchants, I think it was somewhere around the 180, somewhere around there. But anyways, that really does affect the scores. So I'm looking at today's cost of the, so I kind of sort of threw that into the score. Not so much what I paid for it. If I could still get it for, $180, it's a 90, but it's an 89 at looking and averaging out prices and all that. That's where I'm going to leave it. without trying to get any more analytic about this, good whiskey, if you can afford it. You know, I'm lucky. I still have a bottle of it, pretty much a full bottle. If you can't get this, you've got the 15. It's cask strength. I believe it's somewhere around the 100 and was around the 160. It's probably getting closer to the 170-ish, somewhere around there. And if you can't get that, and by the way, that was cask strength on the 15, you go after the 10. The 10 is still reasonably priced, 105, 110, somewhere around there. 45.8% ABV. Basically, they're good whiskeys. They're whiskeys you should have on your shelf. They're very well balanced. They have, I think, still something to offer, even with Diageo, Moet Hennessy, the powerhouse guys, with them behind so many distilleries today. I am still, if I feel it's worth drinking, I'm going to be drinking it. So, okay, that's our video on the 18. So I'm going to ask you to drink wisely, drink intelligently, do not drink and drive. Until the next time, so much.